In just 34 seconds, $4.2 billion vanished from European oversight. Ursula von der Leyen didn't expect the ambush. She didn't prepare for the black folder. Viktor Orban stepped to the microphone with calculated precision. The European Parliament fell into absolute silence. What did the Hungarian Prime Minister reveal that made the most powerful woman in Europe abandon her podium without a word? To understand this political assassination, you must rewind exactly 3 minutes. The session began as a routine budget hearing in Strasbourg. Von der Leyen entered with her usual confidence, clutching blue commission folders. Her trademark composed smile greeted familiar faces across the chamber. She had weathered countless political storms before: the German defense procurement scandals, the vaccine contract controversies, even accusations of nepotism. This budget hearing was supposed to be routine procedural theater. This was supposed to be safe territory. But Viktor Orban came prepared for war. He had waited months for this moment, gathering evidence like a prosecutor building a case against organized crime. At precisely 1442, Orban requested an extraordinary intervention under Article 325 of the treaty, the clause dealing with fraud against the Union's financial interests. The moment those words left his mouth, the atmosphere shifted. Commission staff frantically checked their tablets. Von der Leyen's chief of staff whispered urgent instructions into his phone. Orban placed a thick black dossier on the podium. No dramatic gestures, just cold, methodical precision. He opened to page 1 and began reading transaction codes that would destroy careers. Wire transfer identification, EUX99LUX, amount $4.2 billion. Destination, not Warsaw, not Budapest, not any Eastern European infrastructure project as publicly stated. The cameras zoomed in on von der Leyen's face. Her usual composed demeanor cracked visibly. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes darted between Orban and her advisors, seated in the front row. For the first time in her career, she looked genuinely afraid. Several MEPs leaned forward in their seats, sensing blood in the water. Orban continued with surgical precision. The money, allocated through the Emergency Energy Transition Fund, had been diverted through a network of subsidiaries. But the routing was even more sinister than simple embezzlement. The first transfer went to a shell company in Cyprus, then immediately bounced to the Cayman Islands before landing in Delaware. Each hop designed to obscure the money trail. The final destination? Greenstrat Global, a consulting firm incorporated in Delaware with Luxembourg headquarters. The same Luxembourg where von der Leyen's family maintains significant financial interests. The connection was devastating, the evidence undeniable. Orban revealed wire transfer timestamps showing the money moved through 3 shell companies in 48 hours. The electronic trail was devastating in its precision. Each transaction occurred outside normal banking hours to avoid regulatory oversight. Each transaction bore digital authorization codes that only von der Leyen's inner circle possessed. The timestamps revealed the transfers happened during a weekend when Parliament was in recess, ensuring no oversight. The paperwork trail led directly to the Berlaymont building, to her office, to her desk. The reaction was visceral. Members of the European People's Party sat stunned. The socialist group demanded answers. The Patriots for Europe erupted in resignation demands. Von der Leyen attempted to respond. These allegations require proper investigation through established procedures. Orban interrupted mid-sentence. Madam President, are you denying your signature appears on authorization document BF 2025-0847, dated September 14th? His voice remained calm, almost conversational, which made the accusation even more devastating. Absolute silence. Not a single cough. Not a shuffling paper. The interpreters stopped translating, unsure how to process the unfolding drama. The Hungarian Prime Minister held up a document with unmistakable letterhead. European Commission, Office of the President. The paper trembled slightly in the chamber's air conditioning, but the signature was clearly visible to every camera. Von der Leyen's own handwriting, in her distinctive blue ink, authorizing emergency fund transfers to a private entity. The document bore an official EU seal and a timestamp from exactly 11 days earlier. That was the moment she broke. Von der Leyen gathered her papers with shaking hands. Her security detail moved closer, sensing catastrophe. She signaled her chief of staff with a barely perceptible nod. Within seconds, she was walking toward the exit, leaving behind complete chaos. "Resign! Resign!" echoed through the Strasbourg hall. Camera flashes illuminated the unprecedented scene of the Commission president fleeing her own parliament. MEPs stood on their chairs, some waving documents, others frantically making phone calls. Security guards formed a protective corridor as von der Leyen's entourage hurried toward the exits. Parliamentary ushers struggled to maintain order as journalists pushed forward, shouting questions that would never be answered. The session was suspended indefinitely. European markets reacted within minutes. Trading floors in Frankfurt, Paris, and Milan erupted in panic selling. The euro dropped 1.2% against the dollar. German DAX fell 340 points in the first hour. Bank stocks plummeted as investors realized the scale of institutional crisis brewing. When the most powerful figure in European politics can't defend herself against corruption allegations, the entire project becomes suspect. Emergency calls flooded phone lines between Berlin, Paris, and Rome. Within an hour, a crisis meeting was convened via secure video link. Chancellor Scholz's office refused comment publicly, but sources revealed heated exchanges behind closed doors. Macron's office issued a terse statement calling for clarification through proper channels, while privately demanding damage assessment reports from French intelligence. Even ECB President Lagarde canceled her press conference, citing urgent institutional matters requiring immediate attention. The silence from Brussels was deafening. Hours passed without official response. Press briefings were postponed indefinitely. The typical rapid-fire damage control was nowhere to be seen. Because how do you defend the indefensible? Orban's evidence wasn't limited to financial records. The dossier contained encrypted communications between Commission officials discussing alternative distribution mechanisms for emergency funds. Internal emails referenced family considerations when selecting consulting partners. Meeting notes mentioned maintaining discretion regarding transaction routes. The paper trail painted systematic corruption at European governance's highest levels. This wasn't incompetence. This was deliberate fraud orchestrated from the president's office. European media scrambled to process the bombshell. Mainstream outlets found themselves unable to explain away the evidence. Politico Europe questioned von der Leyen's political survival. Financial Times editorials called for immediate investigation by the European Public Prosecutor's Office. Social media exploded. Jack von der Leyen out trended across 27 member states within an hour. Videos of her hasty exit garnered millions of views. TikTok clips of the confrontation went viral across Europe. The woman who survived German Defense Ministry scandals, who weathered vaccine procurement criticism, finally faced inescapable accusations. The institutional implications are staggering. If the Commission president falls under criminal investigation, the entire College of Commissioners may resign. European legislation grinds to a halt. International agreements require renegotiation. The carefully constructed facade of European unity crumbles overnight. Member states contributing billions now question where their money actually goes. Citizens paying higher taxes to fund European projects realize their sacrifices may be enriching private consultancies rather than building infrastructure. This is exactly what Eurosceptic movements have been seeking. Proof that Brussels elites prioritize personal enrichment over public service. Evidence that European institutions serve wealthy insiders rather than ordinary citizens. Viktor Orban's calculated destruction represents more than political rivalry. This is about the European project's fundamental credibility. When corruption reaches the system's very top, every policy decision becomes suspect. Every budget allocation raises questions. Every speech about European values rings hollow. The clock is ticking for von der Leyen's survival. The European Public Prosecutor's Office faces immense pressure to open formal investigation. If criminal charges follow, her immunity disappears. She would become the first Commission president to face prosecution while in office. But the damage extends beyond one career. The revelation that $4.2 billion in emergency funds disappeared into private consulting destroys public trust in ways that may prove irreparable. Citizens struggling with energy costs while their tax money finances luxury lifestyles will demand fundamental change. The scandal reaches into every European capital, where finance ministers must now explain to angry taxpayers how their contributions were diverted. Opposition parties across the continent are already preparing parliamentary questions that will be impossible to answer. This is no longer about European integration. This is about basic honesty in government. This is about whether democratic institutions can police themselves when the corruption reaches the very top. The markets have delivered their verdict. European bonds trade at discounts reflecting institutional uncertainty. Currency traders bet against euro stability. International investors question their European exposure. This is the moment Eurosceptic politicians waited for. Concrete proof that European elites cannot be trusted with taxpayer money. Evidence that Brussels operates more like a criminal enterprise than a democratic institution. Viktor Orban may have just accelerated the European Union's end as we know it. By destroying von der Leyen's credibility, he undermined European governance's entire foundation. The Hungarian Prime Minister walked out of that chamber knowing he had detonated a political nuclear bomb that would reshape the continent. The question isn't whether she survives politically. The question is whether European institutions can survive the revelation that their highest office facilitated massive financial fraud. In just 34 seconds, one man with one document changed European history's course. The walls of Brussels may never recover from what happened in Strasbourg today. The repercussions will be felt for generations.